Kerala. They say it's God's own country. It's supposed to be absolutely beautiful, and yeah, it is beautiful. And tourism adverts all over the place stating how scenic and how nice and how amazing the people there are. But if you just step around the villages in Kerala, you notice that there aren't too many people there, especially young ones. So, big question, if it's such a nice place, why aren't people staying there? Why are people just leaving? Or, bigger question, where are they going to? So, we'll take these one by one. So, step one, if you actually ask any household in Kerala, and there's a report from 2018 which states that one out of every single five households in Kerala, they have a member abroad. And if you're looking, and those are the NRIs, if you actually look at the NRKs, the people who are somewhere in India but not specifically in Kerala, that would come up to maybe even half of the people. So, a lot of young people seem to be moving out. So, big question, why are they doing that? Why wouldn't they want to stay in a place that's high on so many indices? They're supposed to be some of the most educated lot, and the answer primarily lies there. So, one of the things that did happen well with most of South India, especially Kerala, was they got exposed to education at a very early stage. So, education basically leads to opportunities. So, the more educated people you are, they have a chance to figure out, okay, so would I rather stay here, or would I like to just move to the next state where I'd probably earn maybe 50% more? And even from the 60s, that story has been told and retold all over again, where at that point of time people moved to Persia, to Sri Lanka, and later on it moved on straight ahead to the entire Gulf, all around the 90s, if you're looking at it. It started off with Dubai and Bahrain, and you're looking at Oman, Saudi, all of these places. They have Keralites all around the place. So, one of the main reasons was uh, they were slightly more educated than our counterparts, and they did have more opportunities. There is another word to say about the risk taking. So, the mentality would always be uh, they don't mind taking that little bit of a risk, especially if they believe that there's a good chance. And since it's been happening since decades now, it has reached a stage where there are Keralites almost all around the globe, which means even if you are to go to a strange new place, you're likely to find someone's friend there, which in a strange land is always very helpful and always gives you that heads up in terms of finding a job, getting a recommendation or a referral or something at all. That little bit of advantage that you get, it's something that creates an entire community over there. So, yes, we are looking at a large number of people who help each other out and actually not only cover the GCC now, you have people who've moved to Europe and most recently to Canada, and a lot of Indians, from which a lot of them are Keralites, are moving straight to wherever they get an opportunity. In fact, many of the Keralites who actually got a job in the 90s in Saudi and most of the GCC, they are now looking at opportunities to migrate to Canada, which means we're looking at a situation where there aren't too many young people back in Kerala. If you actually look at the enrollment in schools, that gives you a very clear indication because there aren't too many young people. There are some colleges, in fact, which are shutting down departments because they don't have enough students. And it's not because of a lack of infrastructure. Yes, the infrastructure is good, the teaching is actually quite decent. However, many Keralites do feel that um, parents they move to maybe Bangalore or Chennai or Delhi or Mumbai or wherever it is that they want to, and whatever education is available over there, they look at giving the best for their kids. And the work generally dictates where they would be. And the more educated or the more jobs you end up getting, you end up seeing greener pastures, and they just follow that. It's not a lack of patriotism, it's more about logically thinking about which might be best for me at this present moment. And a lot of opportunities are available, they just pick it up and they leave. So, what does that leave back in the state then? So, if you're looking at the state today, you notice one thing more than anything else, and that's a huge number of old age homes that's crept up. And if you're looking at the existing houses, they're usually inhabited by maybe an old uncle or an old auntie, and that's all there is. And the minute they pass on, the houses are left empty, locked, and that's risen entire new problem altogether, where we have an entire issue of ghost houses where people don't live, it's just locked and it's owned by someone, and those people may or probably would never come back to India. So what are we going to do with those houses? And they're not just a tiny house that can be given out for rent. It's usually palatial bungalows that's made over there. Because if you're looking all through the 90s, people were always going down to the Gulf, make whatever money they can, work as hard as they possibly can, and come back to Kerala to retire. That last part is not happening too much now, where instead of coming back after you hit 60, they just move on to the US or Europe or Canada. And once you've reached there, you don't find too many reasons to actually step back home, which is one of the prime reasons why many of the young people, they look to take their parents back to whichever country they are in. And it works well for many people, but for many others it would look a little difficult. So what does it end up for them? Now, old age homes, yes, and now we are actually seeing community living where young people themselves are actually buying huge little plots of land and communities themselves, where they can actually come back or send their parents and they can actually retire over there. Many people are planning it for themselves because they believe that that's what's best, because they wouldn't want to be isolated in their own homes, and that would make it extremely difficult for everyone. So what they would look to do is people they grew up with or people they worked with, retire with them and have an entire community and retire with them. You'd be having communal kitchens where you can cook together, where you can meet together, exercise together, and many people are considering this as a very rational choice nowadays. So, big question that comes is this really the best options? Because if you are looking at the Patanandita belt or anything, you move every 100 or 200 meters, you'll find houses for sale or land for sale, and many of these people, they don't intend to come back ever again. So, what do you see in the future? Maybe 50 years down the lane, you might have an entire state with none of the original inhabitants. You might see a Kerala with no Keralites. So, this is something to actually think about, because we'd assume that education would lead to more people developing the place. And the reasons, like we told before, for people leaving could be many. Some people would believe that the business scenario isn't so good because of all the trade unions, and the political landscape itself might not be too conducive for businessmen. So what's the best option? Go to the neighboring state and conduct your business over there. So this is something that should be thought about. What do you think? Is this the place where a person would work very hard while outside the state and be extremely lazy while in? Or is this one of the drawbacks of being educated and actually moving towards a state where people don't need or don't find the need to actually come back again?